Hundreds of staffers at the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, known as NOAA, have found themselves the latest target of the Trump administration's efforts to cut back the federal workforce, a move that has many in storm-prone regions like Louisiana concerned.
What is the effect going to be on the locals? What is it going to do to them? How is it going to affect them in their lives, in their daily life, or when storms come up?
More on this, let's bring in Rick Spinrad, who served as the administrator for NOAA during the Biden administration. Rick, great to see you. Thanks so much for being here. So up until a few weeks ago, really, you were in charge of NOAA. What is your reaction to these cuts?
Disturbed, obviously, surprised to a certain extent, because it reflects a real ignorance, if you will, of the value of fundamental information about weather and ocean currents and everything else that NOAA's responsible for. So I was surprised at how misguided and indiscriminate these kind of cuts have been.
I think everybody has heard of NOAA. They use NOAA in their everyday lives. They may not know it. What's kind of the impact here for just regular people?
I used to talk about NOAA's work affecting lives, livelihoods, and lifestyles. So think of that in terms of safety. Obviously, weather, when you have extreme events like, by the way, the tornado outbreak in West Texas, which basically the forecast was compromised yesterday because the network support, the people who did that, had been fired. So the forecasters in the Dallas-Fort Worth forecast office couldn't tell people about those tornadoes that were coming in towards Abilene with the same kind of skill that they would have before. People in the southeast part of the country right now, hey, we're heading into hurricane season. And we know now that because of the cuts that were made, several flight directors for NOAA's hurricane hunters were terminated. That means NOAA will most likely not be able to fly with the same operational tempo to provide the information that gives the quality of the forecast, that gives the track and intensity for when those hurricanes are going to make landfall, where they're going to hit, how intense they will be.
That seems like it would very much complicate storm preparation efforts.
Absolutely. We worked closely with the emergency management community, who relied heavily on 3- and 4-day forecasts to determine where to mobilize and how to mobilize. If we cannot give them the accuracy of the forecast because we've lost not just the ability of the hurricane hunters, but the people who are operating the satellite facilities for NOAA, the people who are going to sea to collect data at sea, all of those capabilities are compromised. And that means the emergency management community has got to distribute resources in places where they may not be sure they're going to have to deploy there, but if you don't have the forecast, you can't do it as accurately as we did before.
Yeah, and speaking of forecasts, we were talking earlier about how everybody thinks, okay, well, I can just get the weather on my phone app or however you check about that. Would that still be the case?
So those apps are great. I probably have half a dozen of them on my phone. They are all based on data and information that comes from NOAA, from the National Weather Service. So it's like the data feeding those apps won't be there anymore. So you'll still have the app, but the quality, the delivery of the information on it, you will notice a degradation of the products you get on those apps almost immediately because the data just are not coming in.
It just wouldn't be there.
That's right.
So since you ran NOAA, you can argue that there are cuts to be made across the federal government. There is support for making things run more efficiently. In your view, are there areas where NOAA could be slimmed down a bit?
So the first thing I would say is the most important thing that I considered was less the efficiency, more the effectiveness. I cared more about whether a forecast was accurate than asking how much did it cost to produce that forecast. The other thing is NOAA was already understaffed when I was there. NOAA had a staff of about 12,000 and almost the same number of contractors working side by side with NOAA employees. So taking these cuts of hundreds or thousands of staff at NOAA is adding insult to injury in terms of already starting at a barely acceptable level of staffing.
So in your view, you needed more support?
Absolutely. Yeah, this is going completely the wrong way.
Are there other kind of real-world impacts for people that would be felt almost immediately?
So one of the other responsibilities most people don't realize NOAA has is space weather forecasts. The geomagnetic storms that cause northern lights, that's great, but they also impact GPS, they impact electrical grids, they impact communications. We had one last May. We had a real bad one. Most people didn't know it because NOAA had predicted it with enough lead time that the power companies could condition their grids, the airlines could redirect the airplanes, and all of these things were accommodated. People have been removed from that office as well. So if we have another geomagnetic storm, and we will, we can expect to have degradation of services. We can expect power grids may go down. We may expect that our GPS doesn't work as well. People will see that kind of impact immediately.
Yeah, it's amazing to think of how much is so accessible to us and we don't quite understand where all that information comes from.
That's right. And people are getting it for 6 cents a day.
Amazing.
That's the amazing thing.
Amazing. Yeah. Well, we will talk to you a lot over the course of all of this, and thank you so much for your insight and perspective.
Your attention.
We appreciate your time. Thank you.